So good morning all. Today we are going to discuss that thermal power plant. So these are the content of our discussion, that is introduction, then working principle, general layout of thermal power plant, that is steam power plant, then main equipments are essential for that steam power plant, then waste generated and their controls, then finally that advantages and disadvantages. These are the different points to be discussed now. So as far as that introduction part is to be considered, as we are all familiar about that steam power plant. So in earlier semester also you might be know the working of the steam power plant. So what exactly the function of that steam power plant? So the main function of that steam power plant is to convert, that is heat energy, into electrical energy. Keep in mind that. What is exactly function of the steam power plant? The main function of the steam power plant is to convert that thermal energy into electrical energy. But the question is arising, how that thermal energy is produced. So for producing that thermal energy we must have to use that fuels. So there are so many kinds of the fuels are generally used, but as far as that thermal power plant or steam power plant is to be considered, that coal is a main that fuel is there. Okay, so that particular fuel is used, that is coal is used in the boiler to produce or to convert the steam from that water. Okay, so initially the heart of the thermal power plant is boiler. So with the help of that boiler the water get converted into steam, and that heat energy is responsible for exploring their energy on the surface of the turbine. And when the turbine blade, when they get absorb that energy, automatically the mechanical energy is produced in terms of the shaft rotation, and that shaft of the turbine, that is steam turbine, is connected to the generator in order to produce an electricity according to the law of that Faraday. So when that current carrying conductor is kept in a magnetic field, it will experience a force, voltage is generated, current is produced. Such kind of the part is related with that working of that steam power plant. So we must have to know one important thing is that there is a very huge scope in the research in the area of that steam power plant, because only the efficiency of the steam power plant, as discussed earlier, it is in between 27 to 35%. Okay, that is the most important thing. So as far as that India is to be considered, the thermal power plant constitute that 75 of the total installed captive and non-captive power generation in the India. Okay, and they are used that different fuels like coal, oil, natural gas, etc. as a primary source of the energy for the working of the steam power plant or that thermal power plant. So as we know that the working of the steam power plant, so the heart of that steam power plant is a boiler. So with the help of that boiler we are producing the steam by converting that water into steam by that evaporation process, and whatever the steam or the fuel used for that boiler is generally that coal pulverized, means powder form of the coal is generally used. And after that, with the help of that high pressurized steam, we bombarding that particular steam on the surface of the steam turbine, and when that steam turbine blade absorb that energy of the steam, they get start rotating and mechanical energy is produced in terms of the shaft rotation, and that mechanical energy is further later on converted into electrical energy when the shaft of the turbine is connected to the generator, that is alternator. Okay, so this is the main working principle of the steam power plant. But still there are actually two types of the power plant. The first is that condensing power plant, and second one is that is non-condensing power plant. So mostly in case of the 90% steam power plant which apply to use that condensing type of the power plant, because it is most important and beneficiary, and whatever the steam is expanded at the end of the that expansion process in the turbine, that steam get collected in that condenser. Okay, so condenser is a main device which is used to convert that wet kind of the steam into water, and further that water after treating it is enters in the boiler as a feed, and this cycle is continuously repeat itself. So this is the general working principle of the steam power plant. So these are the various components of the steam power plant. That is, coal handling plant is there. That coal handling plant is necessary for that pulverizing that small minute particles of the coal, okay, in order to reduce that moisture content. Again, that hot air is to be added, so that all kind of the action is happen in case of that coal handling plant. Then the boiler is the heart of the steam power plant. Then turbine, which produce that mechanical energy, that is most essential part of the steam turbine. In order to increase the efficiency of the steam power plant, that condenser is to be used. So the main function of the condenser is to convert that steam into water. And next one is that cooling tower. What exactly that cooling tower do? The cooling tower just supply the cool water in the passage of the condenser, or you can say in a reciprocal manner, it allow the hot water from that condenser, it get cooled in the cooling tower. Again, it is recirculate continuously. So this is the main function of the cooling tower. Then feed water heater is there. Then economizer and preheater, these are the two important accessories which will increase the efficiency of the steam power plant. Okay, so these are the various components which is mostly essential for that thermal power plant. So students, this is a general layout of the steam power plant, that is thermal power plant. So here you will get idea about the heart of the steam power plant, that is boiler. You can start from this particular process. So what exactly that boiler do? Boiler are so many types. It may be that water tube boiler, it may be that fire tube boiler. Okay, so according to that pressure generation or generation capacity of that electricity in terms of that megawatt kilowatt capacity, we can prefer that boiler. According to the application, again we can select the boiler according to the location. According to our requirement, we are selecting the boiler. So the main function of the boiler is to enhance or to allow that particular evaporation process. So in case of that particular boiler, we must have to use that fuel. So that fuel is necessary to add in case of evaporation process. So that fuel is maybe that pulverized coal. That coal is most important along with the air, because air is essential for the combustion purpose. So the boiler is having its own one integrated part, that is combustion chamber, or you can say that particular area where combustion takes place. Okay, so with the help of that combustion process, the tremendous amount of the heat is generated, and that heat is responsible to convert that water into steam, and further that steam is enters in the turbine. Okay, so this is not other kind of the turbine like hydro and gas turbine, it is a steam turbine. So the blades are designed in such a manner that they can absorb the maximum energy of the steam, because whatever the steam is removing from the boiler, it is supposed to be dry saturated. The dry saturated means his dryness fraction is 1, means the meaning is there is no any kind of the moisture content present in it. Okay, so such kind of the dry saturated steam is generally used. Suppose if the capacity of the thermal power plant is more and we want superheated steam, so that's particular situation. In that particular situation, there is a separate superheater is there. So the main function of the superheater is to again increase the temperature of that particular steam by keeping that pressure constant. Okay, so such kind of the accessories are also generally used in case of that steam power plant in order to increase the efficiency. So when the steam is come in contact with that blades of the turbine, they get absorb the energy. Okay, the blade get absorb the energy. When they get absorb the energy, they get start rotating continuously. So that turbine is having its own casing, it having its own glands and that particular sealing material in order to avoid the loss of heat due to conduction, convection and radiation. Okay, so that glands are play most important role in order to avoid the leakage problem. And when that particular mechanical energy is produced in terms of the shaft rotation, that particular shaft of the turbine is connected to the generator. That is nothing but that alternator. Okay, and then electricity is produced according to the law of the Faraday. When a current carrying conductor kept in a magnetic field, it will generate a force and voltage is produced and current is there. So that is important thing. But The next part here, definitely the electricity is produced from here particular position. We are giving that electricity to transformers. Okay, then step up and then step up, step down kind of the transformer is there. From there it is going to that different lines of that electricity, and after that whatever the steam is expanded, the quality of the steam get reduced here. In case of the turbine, what happen, whatever the steam is removing from the boiler, it is having high pressure, high temperature. When it is coming in contact with the turbine blade get absorb that energy and they get start rotate, and the energy of that steam goes on reduces. So the meaning is that particular steam after that expansion process is supposed to be wet, means there is some kind of that moisture content present in it. So the dryness fraction of the such kind of the steam is always less than 1. The dryness fraction is 1 for which steam? That is for saturated steam. As far as that superheated steam, the dryness fraction is also 1. But when the steam get expanded, its dryness fraction goes on reduces and it is less than 1. Maybe it is 0.78, maybe it is 0.60, maybe it is 0.8 according to use. Okay, and that low quality of the steam is enters in the condenser. So what exactly that condenser is? Condenser, keep in mind that condenser is a one kind of the shell where the necessity is to maintain the proper vacuum inside the shell. If we never maintain the vacuum, that is if some kind of that leakages is there, then we never get a proper condensate at the end. So for condensation process, that is to convert that steam into water, we must have to maintain the proper vacuum inside the shell. That is important part. So there are so many types of the condenser are available. You just aware about it, maybe that jet type condenser, and you just know that surface type of the condenser are generally used. And one element which is always conjugated with the condenser, that is cooling tower. So what exactly that cooling tower do? Cooling tower supply cool water in the passage of the condenser. Okay, what exactly that cooling tower do? Cooling tower supply the cool water in the passage of the condenser. Then that particular cool water absorb the energy, and again it is recirculated. Again that hot water or warm water get cool in the cooling tower. Okay, with the help of that forced convection, with the help of that induced draft, with the help of that natural way, it get cooled. Again that cool water is circulated throughout the area. So that is the main part of the condenser, to convert that steam into water. And once the water get available, that water get enters in the high pressure kind of that heater through that condensate extraction pump. As far as that condenser is to be considered, we must have to prefer that condensate extraction pump. Okay, so the main part or the main function of the condensate extraction pump is to allow that condensate in the tank, that is HP heater tank. Okay, so there are so many types of the condenser are available where we no need to use that condensate extraction pump. Like you just know about that ejector type condenser, you are familiar about that barometric kind of the condenser where there is no need of adding that condensate extraction pump. Water directly enters in that HP heater with the help of gravity. So we are adjusting that particular length. Okay, so after that, from that HP, then again with the help of that boiler feed pump, that is it play most important role in the steam power plant. Then from that boiler feed pump is required to supply that feed water to the boiler through that LP heater. Okay, so this is a general layout of the steam power plant, but here you will get idea about two extra elements, that is ash handling and air heater. So why that air heater is necessary? That air heater is necessary in order to avoid the moisture in the ash. Okay, so that ash particle, that is when the ash, that is coal, when it is in that particular form of that pulverized form, okay, so we must have to control their moisture content. So that's why that heated air is necessary. And after combustion, once the combustion is over, then tremendous amount of the gases are produced. Also ash is produced. So that ash is responsible for the pollution, and it is continuously moving throughout that draught. Okay, so this is, you can say, boiler draught. The main function of the boiler draught is to allow the burnt gases, that is or mixture of the burnt and unburnt gases, or that ash particles to the atmosphere. There are so many ways that natural draughts are available, then forced draughts are available, that is induced draughts are available, but the intention of that draught is to absorb the maximum amount of ash particle in order to avoid that particular kind of the pollution. Okay, so this is the general layout of the steam power plant. So students, any doubt in this? If you have any doubt, then you can ask. Someone unmute yourself and ask any question regarding that steam power plant if you have any doubt. Otherwise, you can put your consent in the chat box if you are getting this particular point. You can put S as a message if you getting that particular things. If no, then ask me, just unmute yourself and ask any question regarding that working of the steam power plant. Otherwise, you just give your consent as a S in the chat box. Okay, so thank you. Just I move further for the next part, that is steam boiler. So as discussed earlier, it is the heart of the steam power plant, thermal power plant. That steam power plant consists of various components and it play most important role. So it is the heart of the steam power plant. Okay, so generally what will happen, so in case of that boiler, there are so many extra parts are there, like it having its own accessory, it is having their own mountings. First you must have to at least familiar with the mounting and accessory. In earlier semester there is one subject, that is applied thermodynamics 1. In that you are also studied the various accessories and mountings. I just recall the names of that different mountings and their accessories. So what exactly the mounting is? Mountings are essential component. Without mounting we never operate that boiler, but we can operate boiler without accessories, but accessory plays most important role in order to increase the efficiency. Keep in mind, so that mounting are most essential and accessories are also essential in order to perform well of that steam power plant. So as far as that mounting is to be considered, you just take example of that safety valves are there, water level indicators are there, pressure gauges are there. These are the come under flue. Then again different kind of the analyzers and fusible plug. These are all are come under boiler mountings. These are the most essential. Without that we never operate that steam power plant as far as that safety point is to be concerned and IBR norms is to be considered. And when we talk about that accessories, there are a lot of the accessories. Again, that air preheater is there. That air preheater is most important to heat up the air for proper combustion purpose, that we need the heated air. Also it play important role to absorb the moisture from the gas as well as that pulverized coal. And similar way, the next is that superheater. It will play important role in order to increase the temperature of that steam which is coming from the boiler. And the next is that economizer. The main function of that economizer is to heat the water which is before feeding to the boiler. Okay, and these all are work with the help of that flue gases. So there is no any extra energy is required, extra electricity is required for their working. Okay, so with the help of that flue gases, I already told you, in case of the steam power plant, the heat transfer takes place because of one reason, that is radiation. Radiation is most dominant, after that convection, after that conduction. So that because of that radiation, this part get worked. So as we know that what exactly that boiler is the one kind of the closed kind of that pressure vessel. That pressure vessel may be horizontal, it may be vertical, it may be inclined. Okay, so generally various kind of the fuels are used, just like oil is used. Oil fired boilers are there, gas fired boilers are there, coal fire boilers are there, wood fire boilers are there mostly in our area. In case of the textile industry, that small capacity of the boilers are used, where we want that steam for that sizing as well as for processing unit. So we want that small quantity of the boiler which is works in between that 1 bar to around 15 bar. So at that time we can prefer that wood as a fuel. Okay, so the main function of that particular boiler is to absorb that heat, or with the help of that evaporation process after that combustion process, that water get converted into steam, and that steam is supposed to be dry saturated, means there is no any kind of the moisture content present in it. So there are two types of the boilers. So you are familiar about, that is water tube boiler, and second one is a fire tube boiler. How they are different? The difference is, in case of the water tube boiler, the water is continuously flowing inside the tube and it is get surrounded by the fire. So in this particular figure you will get idea. So there are two drums are there. First is that header drum, you can say it as a steam drum, and bottom drum is there where the water is stored, and continuously in that particular area, in case of that combustion chamber, the fuel get burnt and combustion of the fuel takes place. Okay, and that combustion is responsible for the radiation, and continuously that hot fumes are continuously moves up in upward direction. Because of that, the water get heated and water get converted into steam, and this is a way through which the exhaust gases are moves out, you can say as a draught or you can say as a chimney. Okay, and here the steam is available at the top, and we can utilize that steam for the various application where we want. If it is power plant, then we can supply that steam to turbine, or if it is some kind of the application like the water heating or food cooking application, as well as for textile industry, if it is that food processing industry, we can prefer that steam for various application. So the main difference between water tube boiler and fire tube boiler is, in case of the water tube boiler, the water is present inside and it is get surrounded by the fire, so it is called as water tube boiler. And keep in mind that such kind of the boilers are mostly preferred for high pressure side conditions. So where we need high pressure, where we need that high capacity, and then at that time we prefer that water tube boilers. So when we talk about that fire tube boiler, it is exactly reciprocal of the water tube boiler. So the main difference between that fire tube and water tube is, so in case of the water tube, the water is flowing inside the tube and it gets surrounded by the fire, but here the situation is different. So in this particular case, through that tube arrangement, the fire is continuously flowing, and that tube get come in contact with, or it is get surrounded by the water. Okay, so that is the main difference between fire tube and water tube boiler. So this is just a glance over the different component of the steam power plant, because today we are just going to discuss what is exactly the working of the steam power plant, that is thermal power plant, because it is most important part of your syllabus. And the next is that steam condenser. So here in this figure you will get idea about how condenser is look like. So I just give you 15 or 20 seconds, so you can, and anybody just can unmute yourself and tell me which type of the steam condenser is in this particular figure, whether it is come under jet or surface. Someone just unmute if you know. Whether this condenser is a jet condenser or surface condenser. Just try. Anyone can unmute. Okay, so such kind of the condenser is, but keep in mind, just I will show you one image on the basis of you just tell me. So it look like such kind of the structure, understand? So definitely it is one kind of surface type of the condenser. Keep in mind that surface condenser are generally horizontal kind of the structure, okay, and it consists of various opening for water entering and steam entering. Similar way, n number of the tubes are mounted in terms of the bundle which is present inside the shell. Okay, so here we will discuss what is exactly that steam condenser. So the main function of that steam condenser is to, okay, so the primary objective of the steam condenser is to maintain the lower pressure at the end of that particular process of the condensation in order to improve the efficiency, and second object is to convert that steam into water and supply that water to the boiler as a feed. So this is the main function of the steam condenser. Okay, so how it look like? It look like in such a manner. So here you will get idea. The outer most important that periphery is nothing but that shell. So that shell must be airtight. Okay, so we must have to maintain the proper vacuum inside the shell. If we maintain the proper vacuum inside the shell, definitely the vacuum efficiency as well as condenser efficiency goes up. If we never maintain the proper vacuum inside the shell, again it will hamper the performance of the steam turbine power plant. Okay, so this is the classification of the steam condenser. So the first is that jet condenser is there. There are two types. The first is jet condenser and second one is that surface condenser. Okay, so the jet condenser, again it is having the two types: parallel flow jet condenser, counter flow jet condenser, then that barometric type jet condenser and ejector type jet condenser. Okay, about two, that is parallel and counter flow jet condenser, is supposed to be high level jet condenser, and that barometric and ejector type of the condenser is supposed to be low pressure side, or you can say that low level kind of that jet condenser. Okay, and another type, that is surface condenser. Again there are four types. First is that downflow surface condenser, second one is the central flow surface condenser, then regenerative type of the surface condenser, and last one is evaporative type surface condenser. So such kind of the condenser are mostly preferred in case of the steam power plant, that is in case of that thermal power plant. Okay, but the question is arising, what is the main difference between jet condenser and surface condenser? I am asking to you, do you have any main difference, any idea about the main difference between jet condenser and surface condenser? Anyone just can unmute yourself and give the answer of this question. What is the main difference between jet condenser and surface condenser? I am asking you very simple question. If you are familiar about this part, then you are able to give the answer. What is the main difference between jet and surface? Okay.
Surface मध्ये indirect contrast.
Yes, continue.
Surface मध्ये indirect contrast and jet मध्ये direct contrast.
Exactly right answer. Okay, so the main speciality of the jet condenser is there is mixing of two fluids. What are those? One is that water, one is that steam. Okay, the steam and water get mixed and condensation takes place in case of the jet condenser. But in case of the surface condenser, they are separated by each other. There is no any kind of the mixing. Here the name indicates, here it is mentioned in the slide, mixing type condenser, means two fluid get mixed, and here there is no any mixing of the water and the steam. Okay, so it make a difference. So here we discuss only two types of that particular jet condenser. Okay, so these are the parallel flow jet condenser and counter flow jet condenser. Okay, so the most necessary component of that jet condenser is that hot well. That hot well is one kind of that reservoir. Okay, hot well is one kind of that reservoir. Okay, and after that there is one pipeline. That pipeline is most important for sucking that particular or discharging that particular whatever the water is there. Okay, it will collect that all water inside that hot well. So that is most important. That hot well is one kind of that reservoir. Okay, that is most important thing. Okay, and now this cooling pond is essential for various purpose. So it is a one kind of that cooling water tank. So with the help of that cooling water tank, with the help of that pump, one pump is placed here, that water get raised and it is continuously moves up and it is continuously fall on the surface of that perforated tray. So this is a perforated tray. These are the various kind of the perforated trays are used for the better heat transfer. Okay, so it is the most important part, and the direction of that water entering is from the top side as well as the steam entering. The steam is actually coming from the boiler. From boiler it enters in the turbine, and from turbine it is enters in that particular area of the condenser. So the direction of the steam and the direction of that particular cooling water entering is same, and mixing takes place. So that's the name is given, that is parallel flow jet condenser. And the important part is that here the air extraction pump is present in that particular top area. Okay, and the condensate extraction pump is necessary. So here the condensate extraction pump, what exactly that condensate extraction pump do? So the main function of that condensate extraction pump is to allow that whatever the condensate is stored in this particular area, and it allow that whole condensate in the hot well, and from where condenser again that water get given to the boiler through that feed water to the boiler pump. One pump is separately provided. Okay, and this is all about parallel flow jet condenser. And when we talk about that counter flow jet condenser, the component used for the parallel and the counter flow jet condenser both are same, only you will get idea about the air extraction pump. Here it is on the top side, right? It is here top side, and the direction of the water which is coming from that cooling water or cooling tower pond is from the top side, and the direction of the steam entering from that bottom side. Okay, so here the direction of the water entering is from the top, and the direction of that steam entering from the bottom, and when they get mixed with each other in the different direction, so that make the working is different. That is the name is given, that is counteraction is there, and because of that counteraction heat transfer takes place, and that steam get converted into water. Okay, and that water get whatever the stored, it is again enters in the hot well with the help of that condensate extraction pump. So in case of parallel as well as in case of the counter flow, we must have to use that condensate extraction pump, okay, in order to allow the water in the hot well. That is the essential part. And the remaining is that barometric type. It is same as that of parallel and counter, only the length of this particular tube, discharge tube. Okay, so this is the discharge tube. The length of the discharge tube in case of that barometric type of the condenser is more. So without use of that condensate extraction pump, the water enters in the hot well directly. So there is no need of that condensate extraction pump is there. Okay, so now we will move further and we will discuss that surface type of the condenser. Here is a cross section. In that cross section you will get idea. The outer section is that generally made by that steel material, or that vessel is there, airtight vessel is there. Okay, and inside that vessel the tube bundle is there. Okay, and through that tubes the working fluid is continuously moves up. Okay, and the steam is continuously bombarding from the top side of that particular area of that shell. Okay, so the inside that tube water is continuously flowing, and that tubes get surrounded by the steam. Okay, and that steam get bombarded over that tube, and heat transfer takes place without contacting the steam and water. So here you will get idea. So these are the different openings. First I will introduce the openings. The first is that cooling water in, from where the cooling water in, from that cooling tower or cooling water pond the water get in, and this is a section of the cooling water out. But it is that particular word is wrong. Instead of cooling water out, warm water out is the right word. Then exhaust steam is from boiler or turbine from the top side. Okay, and condensate, that is condensate is nothing but simply water is moves in the downward direction. Okay, so these are the various kinds of that particular openings of that steam power plant related condenser. Okay, so this is the area through which cool water is continuously passed through the various tubes. From that various tube the water get continuously circulated. Okay, and from that water is circulated throughout that tubes, the better heat transfer occurs when that water tubes come in contact with that exhaust steam. Okay, so when that steam surface come in contact with that water tubes, the there is no any contact is there, and because of that the latent heat of the condensation takes place and heat is rejected. That heat exchange is responsible to convert that steam into water. Okay, that is important part. So there is one element which is always conjugated with the condenser, that is cooling tower. So that cooling tower play most important role. So there are various types of the cooling towers are available. So here I just specially mention that induced type of the cooling tower, where that air or that particular water get cooled because of natural way. So here that various sections are vent are provided for entering the air. This is the area through air get continuously come inside and water get cooled. And another one is that forced type, that is fans are generally used to absorb that particular moisture present inside or heat present inside, it thrown away that air outside. So this is one kind of the induced type, recently used, mostly used advanced type of the cooling tower, and this is a generally natural type of the cooling tower. Okay, so here whatever the water is there, it get enters in the condenser section, and from condenser section whatever the water get warmed, and that warm water again come in contact with that cooling tower. That cooling tower absorb that energy, again that they get cooled, again that cooled water gets circulated throughout the condenser. So such kind of the process is continuously going on. So in order to better heat transfer, that hot water, actually when the hot water from the condenser is come inside through this particular area, so it is totally continuously sprinkled. Because of that sprinkling action, better heat transfer takes place, and simultaneously that air from this particular area is come inside, and it is responsible for the cooling of that water. So this is a vent, it is provided here. So this is the vent totally. This because of that vent, that air get that water get cooled, and cooled water get again stored in the tank, that is in pond, and through that, here is the pond actually, and through that particular pond, that water is cold water is again circulated to the that particular you can say that condenser, and this continuously cycle is repeats itself. Okay, so this is the working of that cooling tower. So as far as the main important part from where we get that mechanical energy is steam turbine. So the steam turbines blade or inside that casing, such kind of the assembly is there. So that steam turbine consists of n number of the parts, like it consists of the nozzle, it consists of fixed blade, it consists of the moving blade. Okay, so generally it is made by the stainless steel material. So here you will get idea about that aerofoil kind of the shape is there. Okay, that blade is most important, the design of the blade in such a manner that it will allow the maximum quantity of the steam, they can absorb the maximum quantity of the steam without any loss. And that whole assembly gets surrounded by casing. Here you will get idea about the bottom casing. Same situation on the top side, with the help of that glands, we are just seal, we just control the amount of the leak. Okay, so that glands play most important in case of the steam power plant. So steam turbine, what exactly that steam turbine do? So the main function of that steam turbine is to convert that steam of, or you can say that is thermal energy, into mechanical energy in terms of the shaft rotation. So you can say in case of that particular steam turbine, okay, so that heat energy of the steam into kinetic energy we will get with the help of boiler, and further later on it is get converted into rotational energy in terms of the shaft rotation. So generally we can say in case of that turbine, the main function of the turbine is to convert that kinetic energy of the steam into mechanical energy. It is a perfect sentence for it. Okay, so the power plant in the steam turbine is obtained by the rate of the change of the momentum. It works on the principle of the rate of change of momentum, but it is a working of impulse type of the turbine. There are two types of the turbines are available in case of the steam power plant or thermal power plant. One is that impulse turbine. It works on the principle of impulsive action, that is change in momentum. Okay, it works on rate of change of momentum. So the inlet energy available at the end of such kind of the impulse turbine is only kinetic energy, keep in mind that. And another type of the turbine is related with the reaction kind of the turbine. It works on the principle of the reaction action, and the main difference between that impulse turbine and reaction turbine is the inlet energy available in case of that reaction turbine are both, that is kinetic energy as well as pressure energy, but the energy available at the end of the inlet turbine or impulse turbine is only kinetic energy. Okay, and keep in mind that, so as we know that the thermal cycle play most essential role in case of the steam power plant, that is thermal power plant. So our next lecture, we will definitely discuss the thermal cycle which is mostly used for the steam power plant. Okay, so you are all familiar the name of that particular thermal cycle which is mostly suitable for the steam power plant. The name of that particular power plant is Rankine cycle. Okay, so with Rankine is the name of the investigator. So that Rankine investigate that working of this thermal cycle, and we will use this cycle for the working of that steam power plant. Okay, so here you will get idea about the working of that particular steam power plant, and you can say that is a turbine section. So in case of that impulse turbine, actually generally what will happen, from the boiler the high pressurized steam is produced, and that steam is generally superheated or it may be saturated, means there is no any moisture content is present, and from that boiler that steam is enters in the area, that area is known as nozzle. Okay, through that nozzle that steam get enters. What exactly that nozzle do? So the main function of the nozzle is to convert that steam energy, that is pressure energy, into kinetic energy. Okay, once we get that kinetic energy of the steam is moves or bombard on the surface of the next part, that is moving blades. That when that high velocity of the steam when come in contact with the moving blade, that is blade, it is continuously moving, and because of that they get absorb that a maximum amount of energy and they get start rotate, and because of that the tremendous amount of that energy is generated in terms of the shaft rotation, and our purpose is fulfilled, that is production of that mechanical energy, and finally it is exhausted through this particular area. So that's why that shrouds and casings are used, glands are used in order to avoid the loss of heat due to conduction, radiation and convection and steam leakage. So here you will get idea. So when that steam is come in contact with the that particular nozzle area, its velocity goes on increases. Okay, but simultaneously when velocity is increases, definitely its pressure goes on decreases. Further, when that steam is come in contact with the moving blade, that moving blade get absorb that energy and they get that its velocity goes on reduces, but theoretically we can say the pressure is remains constant. So this is the most important line. So I repeat once again this particular part. When the steam is come in contact with in the area of the nozzle, the velocity is increases. Here you will get idea about what exactly that nozzle do, and after that that velocity goes on reduces or decreases when that steam is come in contact with the moving blade. Okay, and similar manner the pressure goes on decreases when the steam is come in contact with the nozzle area, and it is remains constant, means that is the pressure is remains constant when that steam is come in contact with the that particular area of the moving blade. Okay, so this is the main working principle of the steam power plant. So it consists of that moving blade, it consists of the casing, it consists of the nozzle. But the main difference between impulse turbine and reaction turbine is, so in case of that reaction turbine, instead of nozzle the fixed blades are used. That fixed blade perform the same function as that of the nozzle. So what exactly that nozzle or that fixed blade do? So here you will get idea. So that red indicate that velocity. So velocity is increases when the steam is come in contact with this that fixed blade. Okay, it performs the same function as that of the nozzle, and when that steam after passing through that fixed blade, when it is come in contact with the moving blade, they can absorb the energy. So such kind of the multiple permutation and combination of the arrangement is there. Fixed blade, moving blade, fixed blade, moving blade. If it is multi-stage, if it is single stage, then only there is a one set of the fixed and there is only one set of the moving blades is generally used. So students, so this is all about the introductory part of the steam power plant, that is thermal power plant. So tomorrow onwards we will discuss the next part, that is the main different accessories which will improve the performance, and also it will play the most important role in your syllabus, that is what is the regeneration, what is intercooling, what is the use of the economizer, what is the use of that superheater, what is the use of the air preheater, because those are the most important content in your syllabus. Okay, so do you have any doubt in it? If you have any doubts, so you can contact me anytime, or you can put your messages in the chat box, so I will explain if you are not getting this particular part as well. So any doubt in it? So if you are getting this, so you can put your consent in the chat box. If you are getting this, then you can put S as a message in the chat box. Okay, so I think there is no any kind of the doubt. If still you have any doubt, then you can ask me during the next lecture. Okay, so you just put your roll numbers in your chat box. So I will note all roll numbers. Okay, so last roll number is 33. So I have one soft copy of one R.K. Rajput book. You can refer this particular book for better understanding. If you have any doubt, then you can refer the book. Otherwise, you can ask me any question regarding that particular today's lecture. Then we will discuss again. So in next lecture, we will discuss the next part of this particular chapter. So thank you all of you for the joining. Have a nice day.